You're on mute, Angie.
Hello.
Okay, hello everyone.
Morning.
It is 9 o'clock and we had a 9 o'clock appointment. How many are we expecting to come on today, Kayla?
It's been varying between 8 and 13. So
Okay.
I have some people who are, it's their second time through Ignite. They just got their license, so they're staying on with it.
Sweet, I love it. Never worry about taking a class more than once. It's always important. You'll always pick up new things when you're at a different foundation each time you do it, and it's something else will make sense and click each time you take the same class. So that's good. So somebody tell me something good. What's been happening?
I just contacted 40 people at once. I realized that I had this lady that keeps sending me all these political emails, and she has a list of 40 other people that she's emailing. So I figured, hey, I'm going to use that. Just all of a sudden the light bulb came on.
Yep. Yeah, and it's, some people would do it and some people won't. And you won't know if, if you get somebody who's upset, then take them off the list. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's the difference between remembering to blind copy so that you're not giving away other people's information.
And that's exactly what she didn't do.
Right. Yeah, so a lot of people don't understand that. So it's always something important to remember when you're doing emails is to do blind copies. Right. If you're doing it mass out so that you're not giving away private information to other people.
Yep.
So what else? Anybody else have something good to tell me? Oh, come on. It's almost Christmas. There's got to be something good.
10 days till Christmas.
Woohoo! Yes. And is anybody expecting coal in their stocking this year? No, we've all been good. Good.
2020 is almost over.
Amen.
And I have a lot of gratitude about that because so many people are always talking about how horrible 2020 was. And I will say it's been very different, but 2020 has actually been a spectacular year, both professionally and personally. I've worked a lot harder than I've ever worked in my life to get there, but it's been a really positive year. And I'm really excited about it. Actually going to a closing right after this class with my son and daughter-in-law who are buying their first home and are expecting their first child, my second grandchild, in the spring. So again, 2020 has been a great year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Real quick, the class will be ending with Angie. Dan had something come up. He's going to be sending contract practice out to you guys later this afternoon. So Angie, when you're done, the class is over.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, now y'all have an extra hour. So what are you going to do in that extra hour? It's already time blocked. So tell me something. Yep. Make calls, follow up, practice. There's lots of stuff that you can do. It's not just a freebie. It's an opportunity to actually continue in your business. So I just want to do a quick introduction. My name is Angie McMahon, and in about 10 days, I'm going to be starting my 31st year in the real estate business. I've been with Keller Williams, I think going on 6 years now. As a matter of fact, 6 years yesterday. So I've worked in a lot of big brokerages, small brokerages, really found home when I found Keller Williams 6 years ago. And I actually have a branch office up here in the White Mountains of Arizona in Pine Top and have a team down in Tucson as well. So we have Pine Top Properties Group up here, Pueblo Properties Group in Tucson, and really just enjoy being in this industry. Love teaching and sharing my experience from all the years that I've been doing this stuff. and really looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you. So who can tell me what today's class is about?
Offers and making an offer.
Making an
and receiving offers.
Making and receiving offers. Yes, it is. And it's basically how to effectively write an offer and present it, as well as being able to be on the other side and receiving it. Because again, you're going to be presenting the offer that was brought on to you. Now, things are done a lot differently today than they were back when I started. When I wrote an offer for a buyer, I actually sat down with the seller usually in their home at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night to sit down and present that offer to that person right in front of their face with their agent. And then when you get done, go sit out in your car and hope the agent comes out and tells you it was accepted. That's how we used to do it. And in some ways, I really miss that, because when you learn effective ways to present an offer and have all of your data and develop rapport, it can make it so much easier to get the message across and to come to a meeting of the minds, where today everything is so sterile and it's just going through the internet. Very few conversations are had. So I'm going to encourage all of you to learn to not just throw an email out to an agent, but to actually get on the phone and have a conversation with them, develop a rapport with the agent, so that you have a much better shot at getting your transaction accepted. So one question I do need to ask, has everybody completed their daily success habits that was due? Okay, so I'm going to suggest that I guess everybody hasn't done their homework, and that's part of that practice. So I can see what an option is for you for that last hour, is to actually get caught up on that. And it's not just the work that it's about the habit of getting into the habit of doing the things that we need to do, not what we want to do, but what we need to do in order to be successful. So making those phone calls, writing those thank you cards, adding people to your database, those are all really important things. It's a habit that you really need to you get used to, flexing that muscle and doing that. So by a show of hands, who has already written or presented an offer? One, okay. You want to share, and is that Leslie?
Letha.
Is yeah, I don't have glasses on. You can't read that tiny print. Would you like to share a little bit about that experience with us?
Yeah, I've been a real estate agent for 1.5 years. I've just recently moved to Keller Williams. So I've closed 12 deals. I've been on both the listing side and the buyer side. And I agree with you, communicating with the other agent is extremely important, building that rapport. It just makes things go smoother. And if you have that back and forth with one another, especially if you're doing a counter offer, to call and say, hey, you know, before I write this paperwork up, is this something that your client would be acceptable with? You know, if not, you know, get a little bit of verbal back and forth, so you're not just overdoing the paperwork. You get another agent that's not willing to communicate, it makes it way more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I've predominantly, up until this year, I'm a listing agent, and you have no idea how many times I have found an offer in my email that came in at 11 o'clock at night, and the agent never called A, if the property was still available, B, to make sure that I received the offer or ask me any questions. And occasionally there are times when we're away from our email for 24 hours and never know about it. I had already accepted an offer, had actually been in negotiations that whole night until about 10 o'clock, and finally had an accepted offer. And then at 11 o'clock, an offer came in, and that person never followed up, not at all.
That's
So
bad representation for their client.
that's exactly right. They're fiduciary to their client. And it's really, it's unprofessional. So please always have a conversation with the agent prior to writing an offer. There's a lot that we'll get more into that here shortly. I'm going to figure out how to use my screen here. So I need to go to, here it is. Okay, so where is my presentation? File. Oh, here it is, the little camera. There we go. Everybody see that? What's successful? Oops. I guess I can go back. There we go. So does everybody see the screen of what successful agents do every day? Yes. This is a class where I want everybody to participate, especially since there's not a lot of us here. I am used to teaching in a classroom setting, so this has been quite a learning experience to be teaching classes on Zoom. I really miss being in the classroom and looking forward to getting back to a healthy company we can do that. So your encouragement on your end side would be really appreciated. So
kind of echoing. Does anyone else hear that, or is it just me?
yeah, I'm hearing it too.
Yeah, it's really.
It's a little hard to understand you, just letting you know.
Is anybody else having a hard time understanding me? Yeah. So I'm wondering if I need to come in on my phone instead of on my computer. So it's like 10 degrees here in Pine Top right now.
Oh, so sorry.
You know, I woke up to a blanket of snow, and it's pretty cold in the office, and I'm in the conference room. And when you get the air really thin like this, it does have a tendency to echo. So let me figure out how I can get in here. Man, Kayla. Let me see if it'll let me, where I'll be in on both sides here. Please enter your name. Okay. Dial in. Call.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Does anybody know what the meeting ID is? I just know. Oh, it's doing it.
Ignite.
Yeah, that's the password, but the phone just did it, so that's good.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound.
Come on, come on.
You are in the meeting now. There are 9 participants in the meeting.
Okay, let me see if I can put this on mute. Okay, can you hear me now? Oh, now I can hear myself. This is no better for me. No.
The other way was better for me.
Yeah.
Now it echoes really bad. Can't
And
hear
you'll
you.
need to mute one and turn it down all the way so it's not hearing in the background.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Now it says
Okay. Is it echoing?
no.
Okay. All right, well, I'm just back on the computer and nothing has changed, so I think we're good. So let's go back. You are screen sharing. Why isn't, there we go. Okay, so we were talking about what successful agents do every day. And I love how this has grown over the time, because we literally had, basically 5 things that real estate agents do. And I really like how they've broken this down to where it's really breaking it down into growing your business and running your business, and adding in some more pieces to this. So right now, what are, if you can just join in, name some of the things that you guys are really focused on right now that you're doing on a daily basis.
Lead generation.
Yeah,
Lead
lead generation.
How many hours a day are you lead generating?
Not enough.
Not at all.
No,
Okay.
not enough.
Not enough. Okay.
About 3.
And that's okay, because again, it's developing a muscle, and it's like you don't become, this great bodybuilder without putting in the work. So you just have to build a little at a time. And, if you're starting off, 10, 15 minutes a day, and then it becomes 30 minutes a day, then it becomes an hour. The more time that you invest in it, the more you're going to see your success. When I had been in the business 24 years before I realized I was supposed to be lead generating. It was just the business would come, and I didn't realize the power behind having a machine, a lead generating machine, of actually working that. And it was Keller Williams that taught me that. And I learned quite quickly that, based on my business plan, I needed 2 appointments a week. And when I kept track of all my numbers in lead generating, I knew that I had to talk to, on average, 20 people, or I'm sorry, 40 people to get an appointment. And so I was talking to 20 a day. And usually by Thursday evening, I would do it 2 hours a day. I knew I had to talk to, on average, 20 people each day, and I could get 2 appointments. And I did not want to lead generate as far as making phone calls on Fridays. I wanted to do open houses. So if I needed to put in an extra hour, 2 hours, there was one day that I stayed the whole day and made phone calls all day just to get that second appointment, so I didn't have to do it on Friday. But you'll learn what your numbers are if you're doing it consistently every day. And who could agree that it could be pretty powerful when you know that you're really close to making that appointment, that you just push through it and get it done, and then you can go do something else. So I really encourage you to really have a plan. I lead generated from 9 to 11 every day, Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays were open houses. So setting up a system, again, a habit, those are really important. And I know you guys are doing classes right now from 9 to 11, but there is a piece of that you do make your phone calls, and you might have to adjust your schedule a little bit. What else? Make seller listing presentations and get listings. That's how you grow your business. Same thing with the buyers. Preview. How many of you are actually going through the habit of previewing homes?
Plan on starting this week.
Okay. When you say starting, is that something that you're putting on your calendar?
Well, we just got Supra yesterday, so we haven't had access until about 4 o'clock or about 2 o'clock yesterday.
Cool, cool. I just encourage you that when you plan to do that, putting it on your calendar is really important, because if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. And it's so easy to forget it. Something else can slip in. You'll realize how powerful it is to know the market out there. As a brand new agent, you really, really gain credibility with clients or potential clients on the mere fact that you know what's out there. Because with the internet out there right now, it can be very disillusioning when your clients know more about what's on the market than you do. And the only way you can overcome that is to get ahead of it and actually go out there and look at the homes. Because it's one thing to say, well, I saw this and I see the history and all of that. You can tell them what's really going on inside the home. And that can be really powerful. So then the run your business, which obviously getting into business is going to be really important. And then you can start doing all of the other things. If you get the listing, you get to market it. If you pick up the buyer and get them on a buyer consultation, then you get to show them houses. Then you get to negotiate contracts. And it just all is a domino effect. And so you really got to start with that growing up business. Anybody have any questions on that? No. Okay. So the offer process. You can see here about preparing the offer, writing the offer, responding. What is something that should happen prior to writing this offer? Something really important, part of the process.
Justifying it?
Pre-qualification.
That's part of it. That's part of it. And that is a piece of the puzzle that goes into what is really important to happen before any of this. And you guys may have already had a class on it. The buyer consultation. So you don't just arbitrarily get to go sit down and write a contract for a person unless, and it does happen. I mean, I can't say that it doesn't. Sometimes you just get a phone call. They want to see this house they already know, and boom, you got to sit down and write a contract. And those can be exciting, but it's also misses a big piece of the process if you don't actually have the opportunity to sit down and do a buyer. And getting the pre-qualification set up is part of that consultation. But there's something else that's really important, which affects all of this process right here. And that would be setting expectations. And when you have that consultation and you set those expectations with the buyer, this is in these phases right here is where all of a sudden you're going to have to remind them of the conversation and agreements that were made and understandings during that consultation. And an example of that is to remind the client that, this is a very exciting time for them. There's a lot of emotions that are running rampant in buyers. It's a magical time. They're excited, they're scared, they want to know the process, and then they let their emotions get the better of them. So during the consultation process, it's really, really important to have an understanding that it's great that they're excited and that there's going to be a lot of emotions flying for both them and for a seller. And that as your consultant, they've hired you to keep the emotions steady and bring back that this is a business transaction. And so there's going to be times where you're going to need to remind them that they're making an emotional decision and that it's your job to bring them back to the business. I don't know if anybody's had that experience where they just get so overwhelmed with emotions, and same thing with the seller. So we've got to keep the emotions between the lines of bold law for those of you who will be taking bold here in the future. Keep the emotions between the lines, and it's really hard to do when they're very excited. And that's why we as their representative should learn not to be attached to the outcome, because if we get attached to the outcome, then our emotions get involved, and we have to remember it's a business transaction, and to keep reminding them to come back to that. And there are times to be okay with their emotions. So kind of like being a psychiatrist, psychologist when you're working with them and writing these offers, to be able to play up the emotions when it's important and to tone them down when it's not. So part of that offer process is starting with preparing the offer. So let's go to your handouts that you guys have and go to your prepare to write the offer page. Where is it? There it is, the checklist. Maybe I got ahead of myself. Yeah, prepared checklist to prepare an offer. Has everybody got that? Yeah. Okay. So let's go through these one by one. Who would like to read the first one?
Obtain the buyer's pre-approval letter from the lender. Your client offer will be more attractive to the seller if the pre-approval letter is submitted at the same time.
All right. And that is definitely very important. Not only that, the Arizona contract indicates that it is attached. You know, in the day, it used to be that you would actually supply that after the fact if the buyer or the seller asked for it. But now it's actually part of our Arizona residential real estate contract that it's attached. So who can think of another reason why, short of just even the offer, why would it be important to obtain a buyer's pre-approval? What's the value in that?
To prove that they're capable of buying the house. Not only do they want it, but they're capable of making it happen.
Okay, what else?
Shows they're serious.
Shows they're serious, yeah. The thing is time is money. And if you're out running people around in your car and showing them properties, not so much with COVID. I've got a lot of people who follow you in your cars now, but you know, you're out and you take 3-4 hours in your day to go out and show homes just to find out that they aren't qualified to purchase a home. You've just wasted time. And time is money in this business. So it's really important to find out that they're qualified so that you're not wasting your time. What's another reason to have a qualification?
You don't want them to fall in love with something they can't afford.
True. Very true. What else? This is one that comes from experience. And it's really important to find out not only if they qualify to purchase, but how they need to purchase. What type of loan program are they going to be doing? Not everybody fits into the cookie cutter conventional loan, 20% down. Some people, the best thing for them would be to go with a VA loan, or that they've got credit issues or debt to income issues and they need to go FHA. There's a whole lot of different loan programs where first-time home buyer, there might be a bond program out there, or the fact that they have good credit, they just have no money in the bank. Back in the 90s, that's how I succeeded. Was I was doing creative contract writing. I actually had started teaching classes on it because I was able to get people with good credit and no money in the bank into homes by, back then in the early 90s, you know, having the seller pay the closing costs. And that was unheard of back then. And that's how I was getting them in. You had to make sure you had a home that you knew you'd go in at a higher price than what they were asking. And you had to make sure that you do your comps that the home was going to appraise. And then again, we sat down with the seller to present the offer, and they would freak out if you would say, oh, we want you to pay the closing costs. And they didn't even want to talk to you after that. So then you learn the art of presentation and you hand them a seller net sheet, and highlight the bottom and say, are you okay with that number? And if they said yes, then let me show you how we can get you there. And then it's not so hard to eat that they're going to pay their closing costs. So as long as you can get them in there. So it's really important because not all homes are going to qualify for a VA loan. Not all sellers are going to be agreeable. That's why it shows on our listings how it can be sold. And VA used to be more troublesome, but it's not anymore. So we had to be really careful with VA loans. Also, if you're looking at an FHA, you're not going to go out and find a fixer-upper to go FHA because it's a government loan. They're going to require that certain repairs be made through the appraisal process in order to sell a home on a government loan. So you could go through all of this work to have it fall apart after the appraisal comes in. So it's important to know up front, not only if they can buy, but how they can buy. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions or ahas about that? Okay, so who would like to take the next one? Number 2.
I will.
Okay.
Produce a comparative market analysis to educate and inform your buyers.
Okay, who would like to share with why that would be important?
So your
Has
buyer,
anyone done one before? Have you done a CMA?
Yeah.
Okay. So being able to pull in the data of what has sold in the past, what's currently under contract, and what's newly active on the market can tell you a whole mess of things about what's going on in the market. And it will help in determining the value of the property. And also, if you really pay attention to, especially when you're listing a home, to the CMA, based on the active pendings and sold, you can see which way the market is trending. Are values going up, or are they going down, or are they leveled out? Because as a listing agent, you want to price ahead of the market. And that way you can get the quicker sale instead of having to keep doing price reductions and then sell it for less than what you could have gotten from it if you priced it right in the first place. So watching which way the market is trending is very important, not only for listings, but also with your buyers. It's going to be important to see what's happening because your buyer may be trying to buy on the high end of their of availability to purchase, and you have the opportunity to present to the selling side what you and your buyer are seeing in the market trends, and that could be a value. Also seeing, how many days on market, that's really important. Sometimes, stuff is selling in, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Some of them are selling with 14, 15 offers on it. You just need to pay attention to what's going on. So when you see stuff pending, pick up the phone and call the agent. How many offers did you have on that before you accepted? Because even though it may have sold in 5 days, it was because they were negotiating 17 offers and went for way above asking price. And I know that's what's happening up here in this market because we have very, very, very little on the market. And when something hits the market, they plan on negotiating multiple offers. And, it's quite challenging on both sides, no matter which side you're on. Okay, so what's the third one? Who'd like to read that one?
I will.
Thanks, Heather.
Review the tax records for information about pricing history.
Okay. Can anybody think of another reason why you would want to review the tax records?
If the seller owes taxes or
Yeah, you can see that. What else? This is really important when it comes to writing the offer.
Taxes are going to be prorated at closing. And you want to know what to expect year to year as well.
Yeah, if you can see where taxes are, whether they're trending up or whether they're trending down. There's other parts of it too, and where you can see what the tax rate is. If this is a home that is a rental, it's going to have a higher tax rate than it would be if it was a primary resident. So you can be looking at it and think the taxes are high. Well, you can see that it's a non-primary resident, and that's why it's at the higher tax rate. So you can assure your client that the taxes will actually be less. So you can look at what else others in the neighborhood that are primary to get a better idea of what they are. What's another really compelling reason to review the tax records prior to writing an offer? Okay, this one's a big one. You want to validate who actually owns the property. So you may not have a full legal name on the listing. I know, sometimes it's just the last name. You need to know whether it's in a trust. So you need to make sure that it matches up. Like I have one right now that I have in escrow, and I'm looking at the tax records, and then the name that is actually on the listing does not match. And it wasn't the last names, it was the first names. And so prior to writing the offer, I called the agent, and she said, yeah, exactly. The tax records actually haven't caught up to the fact that the owner had to in this of everything through the estate. So I had to write the contract in the name of the son. And if I had just gone by what was going on, I need to be able to match all of that stuff up. Sometimes it's in a trust, and you need to be able to put the names of those people as trustees. So the taxes, you can also see if perhaps the owner is receiving mail out of state. That can tell you a lot about what might be going on with the property as well. Anything else? Okay, who wants to read the next one?
I will ensure the property is still available before spending any time preparing an offer. Even if your MLS indicates the listing is active, contact the listing agent to let them know that your client is considering making an offer. If it's off the market, let your buyer know immediately and promptly begin the search for another home.
Yes. We had a discussion about that, why it's really important. Because they may already be in the middle of negotiating. I don't know how many times, especially in today's market, where you call and the MLS is showing that it's active, and they say, yeah, we just got the accepted counter on it. And so now it's going to be going in. And it's unfortunate when you see agents spend all of that time and get their buyer really excited about presenting an offer when it's not even an available home. So again, really important to find that out.
That saved me recently because I had a buyer. We were in Catalina. It was a double wide trailer on an acre, and it had been on the market for 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I called and left a message with the listing agent. By the time she called me back an hour later, they had already accepted an offer.
Yeah, and generally that's why they didn't answer the phone, because they're in the middle of the negotiations at that point. Yeah.
She had 3 offers by the 12th hour.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of people that are agents that are calling around to other agents that they know works particular neighborhoods because they have a client who's interested in it, and say, what do you have coming? And the conversations about the home are already being had prior to it ever hitting active on the MLS. And with our coming soon issues, that's, within AR, that becomes a really muddy water to get into. But it's happening. You're seeing it all the time. I get agents who call me all the time. What do you have coming? What do you have coming? And I just said, only buyers. That's what I have coming, because that's all there is right now. Because very little is out there on the market. Okay. I'll take the next one. When speaking with the listing agent, build rapport and gather as much information about the seller and the property as you can. So, and that kind of goes down with asking questions of the listing agent to discover more about the seller, inquire about the activity on the property. This is really when you're going to be gathering as much data as you can. You want to give that listing agent a really comfortable feeling that you are going to be a pleasure to work with, especially when you're working in multiple situations. When you can get, you just know when you're going to have a smooth transaction based on the way that the agent started the relationship with you. So always keep that in mind. You also want to find out how you can make it a win-win for both sides. What's most important to the seller in selling their home? For some, it's not always the price. Sometimes it may be, hey, I need an extra month to get out of the home. Sometimes it is the terms. They want cash, quick close, get out. And so then you already know what you're up against if there's other offers. They just took a job in Buffalo and they have 3 weeks to get there. So, being able to quick close may be more important than getting the top dollar for the property. You just never know. And so it's important to find out really what's important to the seller. And it's interesting because you can tell sometimes that the agents never even bothered to find out from their own client what's their hot point, what's important to them. And that says a lot too about how things are going to go. What are some other things that you can find out about the property or about the seller in that initial conversation? Where are they moving to? How quickly do they need to get there? What's important about them going there? Those kinds of things. Because the more that they can connect with the seller, the easier it will be to get the deal going across. And the big one is finding out, are there any other offers on the property, or how many offers, especially if something's been sitting on the market for a few months. Find out how many offers have already been on that property, because you'd be surprised. Well, they've had 3 or 4 offers and nothing came to fruition. And generally that can give you a heads up that the seller is not real cooperative, that they may be overpriced, and getting that price is going to be all he's willing to do. And that's okay. That's the decision that they've made. Yet now you're armed with information to go back to the buyer and say, if this is your gotta have home, you're going to have to pay the price. And that's really important to prepare them for that up front if you can. Any questions? Okay. So now we're going to write the offer, and that'll be the next one on your page. And I think this is part of probably the stuff that Dan is doing with you guys. You're going to have conversation, and gathering all of this data with your client is going to be important to know this. Check the MLS listing to see if they've got an HOA disclosure, a seller property disclosure already loaded. Here we have a lot of septics and wells, you know, are those anything out there about those? Sometimes it's a long legal description. Those kinds of things will be in your documents, and it's important to have those all in hand when you're writing your offer. Getting the seller's property disclosure statement tell you some more things about the property that may affect the price you're willing to pay? Yes. Yeah, it may say, hey, we just put a new roof on 6 months ago and it's got a 40-year warranty. Does that make that home not necessarily more valuable, but more attractive than the competition down the street, that you'd be willing to pay more money for it? Good thing to point out. Okay. Earnest money, that's an important one. You'd be surprised how many times sitting down with especially a first-time buyer, that they don't understand that they have to put money up front, and being able to explain to them exactly what earnest money is. So who would like to share their understanding and definition of what earnest money is?
Security deposit.
Okay. And what is it? What is it securing?
Their offer.
Right. And well, and it's securing the fact that they are showing that they are earnest in the offer that they are making. And that if they were to breach any part of that contract, that they understand that they could lose that money. So they're showing them that in earnest, we're putting this up front because we're convinced we will not breach this contract. And so they need to understand you only have a few outs in the contract, and that's what my job is to walk you through that. But the earnest money is at risk if you breach the contract, and make sure that they understand that. And again, that's a conversation to definitely be having with them during the consultation to prepare them for the process. And probably one of the biggest pieces of this is when you're sitting down to writing an offer with your client, that is not the time to be explaining to them line by line by line of what it means on each section of that contract, because time is of the essence. You may be trying to beat other offers in, getting it in time. That is not the time to be educating your client on what the contract means. So during the consultation, as part of the consultation package, I give my clients if they're a first-time home buyer, or if they haven't bought property in Arizona in the past 5 years, I give them a copy of our current contract so they understand what it's there. And for that first-time home buyer, I let them know they have homework, and that they need to go through each section and highlight the items that they don't understand. And then we can talk about them and explain to them what those things mean, so that they understand when it's time to write that offer, we're just filling in, signing and sending. That's all it is. Because there's some people where you can spend 4 or 5 hours trying to write a contract because you're explaining the contract to them the entire time. So that's definitely not the time that they are doing that. Time for seller acceptance. That one has become a big one. In a seller's market, it's become pretty clear that they ignore that one. Writing, typically when you want to beat out the competition for other offers coming in, you give them a very short acceptance time so that they have to answer yours prior to. I can tell you that's not happening right now. They'll just do an addendum to extend acceptance time, and they're going to gather as many offers as they can before they respond. So But it is important during that conversation with the listing agent to say, hey, is your seller easily available by email? Maybe they're in the military and it's really hard to get in touch with them to find out what a reasonable acceptance time is on an offer. Because if you force them into trying to make it quick, it can put a bad taste in their mouth, and that may not be the best interest of your client. So it's important to have that conversation with the listing agent as well. Loan approval, closing dates. These are conversations that you want to have with the lender prior to writing the offer to make sure, if you're writing an offer, you may have gotten a pre-approval letter for the cap of what they're qualified for. But when it comes time to actually writing the offer, you want to provide a pre-qualification or approval letter that matches the offer that you're writing. So maybe your client's been approved up to $375,000, but you're putting an offer in for $350,000. Well, you don't want to attach the $375,000 pre-qual to that $350,000 offer. That's not in the best interest of your client, because you want to leave a question in their mind, to the seller's mind. Well, maybe they're only qualified for $350,000. So that's when you're going to get on the phone with the lender and say, hey, I'm writing an offer for Mr. and Mrs. Jones. We're going in at $350,000, and I need you to send me an amended pre-qual letter. So there's also a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Would anybody like to give a shot at explaining the difference?
One, they've went thoroughly into their credit and their finances and their bank statements, and they're qualified. And the pre-approval means they've had these conversations and they're going off of their word, basically. Yeah, I make this much a month, nothing's been verified. But
It's actually the opposite of that.
Oh, it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's the opposite of that. A pre-qualification is a lender having a phone conversation or an email. Maybe they pulled their credit and said, based off of what you're telling me, your income is, your debts, and based off of your tri-merged credit report, we can pre-qualify you for this amount. An approval has more to do with the fact that they have verified all of that data, tax returns, employment verifications, debt, all of those things, and it's gone to an underwriter and they have approved it. So that is an approval.
I must be dyslexic, because I thought that was the way I was presenting it.
No, it's actually the opposite. So today was a perfect day. You actually have something that you can take back into your business. Especially as a listing agent, if you are looking at an offer coming in on your property, it's very, very important to dive deep into reading that pre-approval letter that was attached with the offer. And also being on the buyer's side, if your client, and this is happening more and more in this market, you may have written 3 or 4 contracts, or you've even had one and then it fell out for whatever reason, the inspection didn't work out, whatever. Well, by this point, the buyer may have already gone to underwriting and the buyer is actually pre-approved. And now all they're waiting on is a property and to approve that property. Do you think that that is a valuable piece of information to share with that listing agent, who may also be entertaining other offers? And that other offer may just be a flat out pre-qual where, based on what you tell me, you're okay, versus a hard approval on the person, then, and we're just waiting for the property. That has loads and loads of benefits in presenting an offer. So it's really important to have a connection and conversation with that lender to find out really where they're out at in that process, and to make sure that the letter they send you is indicative of that. Because you want to be able to explain it to show them the value and, of that particular buyer. Closing dates, that's the next one. That's a big one too, because of appraisals right now. Very few properties are actually closing on time because it's taking forever to get an appraisal. I know up here in the mountains that we're about 8 weeks out on an appraiser ever even getting to the property. And then they're taking, 2-3 more weeks before they actually get the appraisal back to the lender. And then it has to go back through underwriting. So it's been quite challenging to keep buyers active and get sellers that are still willing to keep moving forward, because these appraisals, to put in a typical 30-40 day close date time is just not practical in today's market. And we're going out to 45 and sometimes 60 days, and it can be a strategy as far as representing your buyer, where many times I'm putting in a 40-day closing into the contract, knowing full well that the likelihood of it happening is pretty nil, and figure if we can get an accepted contract, then we go back to the seller and just get an extension because we couldn't get the appraisal. If they've got an on top of it agent that's representing the seller, they're going to explain that to the seller that that's what's happening. So just keep in mind that your close dates, that you don't want to have a buyer who believes and is making decisions and ordering movers and all of these things for a particular close date that is not set in stone. Because until that appraisal comes back and comes back out of underwriting, you're not going anywhere unless you have a cash offer. So that's going to be an education piece to bring in to your buyer to make sure they understand what's happening in the market. Home warranties, that's a conversation to obviously be having with your buyer, how important that is, whether they want to pay for it, whether they want the seller to pay for it. And it always becomes a negotiation piece. I, for one, pretty much 90% of the time, always put a home warranty in the contract, having the seller pay it. Because sometimes that's the one thing they come back and say, okay, well, we'll accept everything else on your offer, but we're not going to pay that. And it becomes that negotiation piece. And negotiations, it'll be another entire class by someone else in Ignite. Repair limits or special clauses and contingencies. So can anybody think of a special clause or contingency that might need to be written into the contract?
Like maybe like carpets or something?
No, that might be a repair thing where you write it into the contract and say, hey, we're willing to pay this price, but we expect the seller to give us a $2,000 credit for carpet.
Oh.
No, I'm thinking about some other things, like maybe the buyer is moving to another state and they have a home that is under contract and needs to close escrow in order for them to get this home. That's going to be something really important. And there's actually an addendum for that called a buyer contingency addendum. And it can be, maybe the home hasn't even got a contract on it yet. And, or it has a contract on it and it's just waiting to close. But if something happened and that deal didn't close, your buyer's not in a position to buy this current property. You need to protect them by having that contingency in there. And so it's important that when you are reviewing all of the documents out there, look at a lot of the other clauses and contingencies that are out there. So like the buyer contingency, Another one would be maybe your client is doing a 1031 tax exchange. And that needs to be disclosed to the seller. It doesn't cost the seller any money, but it does need to be disclosed because all of that information of the contract will be shared with the exchange company. And that's where the funds are going to be coming from. So, because if it's a 1031 exchange, tax exchange, and they're basically paying cash for the current property because it's coming from the exchange. But that's how they need to be able to prove where that cash is coming from, because it's not sitting in their account, in their bank account. So it's not like you're getting a proof of funds that way, so that the seller needs to know that it's going through a 1031 tax exchange. And that's another.
What is a 1031 tax exchange?
So because there are many sellers out there who have bought and sold properties over the years, there is the capital gains tax issue. And people who want to build wealth through real estate don't want to get caught up in the having to pay capital gains tax. So what happens is that you can have a property that you're going to sell, and there are rules, and I'm not going to get into that. You can definitely do some research. Your title company can give you some information on any exchange company that might sit down and explain it to you. But basically what happens is, say you have a seller who's selling a property and they are going to make like $300,000 or $400,000 in equity in the home. And they don't want that going into their bank account so that IRS, because they may have already sold property in the past and now they're going to be sitting at $600,000 or $700,000 in gains, in equity gains from selling property. They don't want to have to pay taxes on that. So what happens is they hire an exchange company, and that money will go into the exchange, and they have 45 days to identify another property or two properties. So what might happen is they might go in and say, okay, we're selling this property. We have $400,000 that's going to go to the exchange, and we're going to go out and we're going to go buy two more properties at $200,000 a piece. And they're going to be paid for from the cash sitting in that exchange. And so the money went through the exchange out to the other seller. They never held that money. Therefore, they cannot be taxed on it because it went right into real estate.
I remember something about that in school.
So learning about, an exchange, you don't have to know a whole lot about it, but enough to know, hey, this may be a way for you to avoid capital gains. And there's plenty of exchange companies in Tucson. I do a lot of exchanges up here in the mountains, and the exchange company is actually down in Tucson who handles them. So they take care of all the paperwork. Even when my husband and I bought our home up here, we took cash out of a property we sold in the valley. That was a property that my husband owned before we got married, and we used that to use as our down payment on the house up here. So it's definitely an asset. So those are clauses. Now the big one, and I want to see what time it is. Okay, so we're gonna have this will be the good time. So we're gonna they're gonna do the cover letter, and then we'll go into the next one. So does anybody know what the cover letter is and what the value of that is? So a cover letter, and there's a couple different ways. If you look in your book or in your packet, they actually have, it's almost kind of there it is, page 7, I believe it is. And it's a cover letter that you can fill in information about your client that you attach to the contract when you send it over to the listing agent. Well, I do something a little bit different, and I have my client actually write a letter to the seller and explaining to them why they want to buy the home, what was intriguing them, what they excited about, a little bit about themselves or their family. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, so new share. So let me find here's one right here. So see if I can get this shared. Okay, so does everybody see that? Let me get out of the way here. So here's a sample of a cover letter that a client of ours in Tucson wrote to the seller because we were in a multiple offer situation and she wanted to get her story out to the seller in hopes that he would want to sell to her instead of anybody else. And because we were doing a VA loan, and even though VA loans don't have to cost sellers any money anymore, there's still a lot of agents out there who don't understand that. And as soon as they hear the word VA, they automatically don't even want to entertain it. So we wanted to do everything we possibly could to put them over the edge. And so she wrote a letter and said, you know, my intention with writing you this letter is to not only declare my interest for your house, but to also share a little about myself. My name is Hannah, and I'm a single 28-year-old disabled veteran, a University of Arizona graduate, and a first-time home buyer. After graduating high school in California during the height of the recession, I joined the United States Army to serve my country and give myself the best chance at a successful future. I was in the military for nearly 4 years until I fractured my skull in a training accident. After the military, I went back to school and committed myself to my education, which paid off because I graduated summa cum laude from the University of Arizona in 2019. Bear down. And she saw stuff in his house from the University of Arizona. So she is finding a way to connect. Okay. Although having moved to Tucson from school, I fell in love with the Southwest and decided to stay. Having now started a career at Merrill Lynch, I want to continue to grow and establish a life for myself. Because I am a single female and disabled, I do not have the ability to put a great deal of work into a house. The appeal of your home is that it is already finished and well maintained. The space is open and full of light, and the home has plenty of space for me to grow into over the years. I am an aunt of 6 nieces and nephews who all live in California, and I am thrilled to have space for them to come visit me. Finally, the most important feature of the home is the location. The neighborhood is safe. This is very important to me considering I will be living alone. I loved the home and would be honored if you would consider my offer. Best regards. So after you wipe your eyes, how effective do you think that would be in having that presented to the seller with the offer?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And those are her words, nothing that we put in there whatsoever. And she did get this home.
Nice.
And it was our third contract we wrote for her. And her letter got better every time she went to write it. It was quite amazing. Let me see, I have one more. So this one right here is the Keller family. And Kyle Keller is actually a Keller Williams agent in Glendale. And he's buying a home up here in the mountains. And we've had to go through this 7 times since March, but we finally, it looks like we're going to close on Friday on a house. But he puts the picture in there of his family and his kids. And, you know, we saw doggy beds and doggy food bowls in the house. And that's when they knew, you know, they wanted to connect about their dog and the whole thing, and wanting to be able to spend time here with the family. And, you know, attaching these to the offer really does, it's a really nice touch. And I'm not putting anything out there about my clients. So I'm not having to take risks by disclosing things that they didn't want me to disclose because they wrote it, not me. And I feel that it's far more powerful than putting it, doing it yourself. The other piece of this too is sometimes you might be competing with the actual listing agent who may be having their own offer submitted. And so I want to make sure that this letter actually is seen and read by the seller. And so I always put a section down at the bottom of the letter for the seller to initial and date or sign and date, so that even if the offer is rejected, I know that it was actually read. Because sometimes agents won't present it if it's going to make their offer not look so good. So I want to make sure that it was read, because we don't have the opportunity anymore to actually sit down with the seller. See, this goes back to, I was doing this back in the 90s, writing these letters, and I would submit them with my offer face to face with the seller at, in the living room or at the dining room table, before I would take my leave and go sit in my car and cross my fingers and say a prayer and hope that the agent would come back out and tell me we're good. Or the worst one was, well, they want to sleep on it. So then you all go home and wonder. So times have changed, but it is a lot of fun too. So before we take a quick 5-minute break, I would love to hear some ahas or anything that you learned that you can actually take into your business this week.
I really like your personal touch there with getting the client to say why they wanted it, especially in this competitive market.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really nice touch.
Good.
Uniqueness.
My former broker never even told me to utilize a cover letter, and I like the way you use the cover letter and let that be the personal touch from your buyer.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Anybody else?
I like the cover letter, and I also like the pre-qual and the pre-approval, explaining the difference and the appeal of it.
Great, good. Awesome. Okay, well, let's take a 5-minute break. Go hit the bathroom, check your messages, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the last 40 minutes on taking a quick look in the offer guidelines and actually going on the opposite side as the listing agent. And we'll do some objection handling as well. So see you in 5.
Must be break time, huh, Angie?
Figure out what the next spot is.
How they coming along for you, Miss Angie?
Good, you know, small class, so it's quiet, but I'm pushing them to participate.
Better participate. These are some good participators.
Yeah, they finally have gotten involved. It just took a while. Create an offer. That's what we're gonna do. Create an offer. Can't wait till we can finally get back in the classroom to do this stuff.
Oh man, I miss it so much.
Just so impersonal doing it this way. Oh, this is cold. Woke up this morning and even though it's 24 with the wind chill, it was 10. Got a blanket of snow during the night.
It's a nice chilly area.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I had an appraiser call out 3 decks that needed to be completely scraped and repainted and stained and all of that. And it's like they have no clue. You don't do that stuff in the wintertime here.
No.
But it was a condition of closing.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, been a nightmare. We finally got the lender to waive that and keep it in-house, and underwriter finally said, okay, we'll do a holdback. And because we've had like for 6 days now, we've gotten snow every day, and it's been cold and windy and snowing and raining, and you can't do work in that weather. And who knows how the weather is going to be. So finally they said, okay, we'll do a holdback. And the appraiser needs to come back out and re-inspect. And we've got Christmas coming. And the guy I got to do the work out there for the client, you know, he said, I can go out there today and tomorrow. At least it's sunny right now. But it's literally our high today is 33.
Oof.
You know, and trying to paint because it's not going to dry. And it's like, well, if we can wait and get it done Monday and Tuesday, we're supposed to be up to 50. But then that means we have to push off the appraiser. And so I got to call her today because she wants to come play in the snow. And I'm like, meh, maybe I can get her to come out on the 22nd instead of the 18th. Been a tough year. Let's see.
It's just tempering us for bigger things to come.
Oh yeah, definitely. There we go. We'll do that one. Okay. How are we doing? We got everybody back?
I'm
Almost?
back.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. So, no, I can still see blank screens.
Turn your cameras on, folks. Come on now.
There we go. There's one.
I'm hearing you guys aren't participating much. That makes me sad.
Yep. It wasn't even me that turned my camera back on. It was the 1-year-old. I came back and it's like, I turned that off.
All right, looks like we're missing Nicole and
Jennifer's probably there. Just she's at her other office, and Chris typically has his phone in his hand, listening.
okay.
Say hi because I got to jump back off. Got another agent interview coming in right now, but want to tell you thank you so much for teaching. You're an amazing person.
Thank you. See you soon. Okay, so there's Ricky. Who else we got? All right, so has anybody been working in command?
Yep.
Getting familiar? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been working in command for about 18 months, and I've been doing it for the most part, exclusively just through compliance. So using it as the contact manager and creating opportunities, writing contracts, submitting them all for compliance, and keeping track of my numbers. So I'm pretty passionate about this. I know there's a lot of people who are frustrated and don't like command. And I'm just going to say, get over it. Change is difficult, and you just got to dig in and get in there. And I promise you, it will definitely be way better than having to bounce through 10 different things to try and write a contract. I started with command when it very, very first was released. And that was when it was a nightmare. We had to break it every single day in order for it to get to where it is today. And so it works like a charm now. And, you know, nothing's perfect. But for the most part, being able to have everything in one place is awesome. I think where the most difficulty comes in on the compliance side of it when they're trying to review contracts. And that has more to do with the fact that the state of Arizona real estate laws are way different than pretty much. So has anybody gone through the process of putting a contract, creating an opportunity, and then going to the documents section to figure out how to write a contract? I'm going to take that as a no.
A listing contract.
Okay, so you've done a listing through there. Perfect. Okay, so perfect. Okay, so for the rest of you, I'm just going to give you a sneak peek on what it's going to look like. Let me get back here. I need to go back to my screen sharing. Where do I get to it? That's not what I wanted. I don't want that. Oh, I bet that's over here now. Let's do this. All right, why is it not offering my screen share? Let's see if I can do that. Let's go to here.
You're still sharing your screen.
Am I? Yeah, okay, well,
You've got the letter up.
I need to get this all over here because I'm trying to get to, what is this stuff? Okay, that's not what I wanted. I need to get to my, oh, come on, there, out of the way. So there's my screen share, and I need to get to, not the remote, here it is, command. Okay, can y'all see my screen still? We all there? Okay, so
No, you're still sharing.
yeah, I want to share my screen. So can you see the welcome home, Angie?
You're sharing the letter still.
I'm sharing the letter still. No. Okay, so let's do this. Come on. Come on. I want to give me a. Interesting. I don't want that. Stop. Share. Okay, now I want to go back to my screen. We've got this here, so now I want to share. I'm telling you, this has been, there it is, screen share. And I want this. Okay, now can you see it? You're seeing?
Yes, now we can see it.
Welcome home in. Okay, so this is my homepage of my command. So you would, which, you know, this would be the way yours is. So obviously going to a contact, come on. Internet slow. Okay, so this is where you would put in your, here we go, we got Cindy Hooker. So she is someone that I have under contract right now. And I put her in as a contact. Has everybody had an opportunity to add a contact to command? So I
Yes.
don't need, so I don't need to walk you through that. So you can go to that contact and hit create opportunity. And has everybody had the opportunity to create an opportunity? No. Okay.
No.
You.
My 2 listings are both elderly and computer illiterate, not even an email address. So
Okay.
I've just uploaded documents.
All right. So going to opportunities here. So you can create an opportunity here and you just grab your client and fill in the data, whether it's a listing, a buyer, do any of that stuff, and then it will put it here. So right now I have, she is under contract and probably go back. I'm gonna go back. I don't want her. So here are active buyers that I have currently looking for a property. So here, oh, here we go. So this one just actually got accepted. We were in negotiations and you can see how it's under the negotiations file. And when you click on that, you would be going to filling in your details here. So now I get to update my information here where this is now, instead of being an active buyer, this one is actually under contract. We've opened escrow and they are now in their inspection period. And our estimated close of escrow is 129. And I'm gonna move this again. Save. So what happens is I have gone in and you would click your documents tab and come on, okay, so under contract. So I have my consultation. Now you can do this a couple different ways, but like right here, the ABA, I can add the file here and I can do it from DocuSign where they signed it. And what this will do is it will bring me out to the folder. And there it is where it shows the ABA and it's signed. So I can click on that and assign it. You can also do it manually and pull it in from another location. Well, now it's loaded that file. So the agency disclosure, I'm gonna go back in, pull it from DocuSign, and it's gonna go to the folder. And we were doing the buyer advisory, right? Here is the signed buyer advisory. Let me make sure that's the one. Nope, it was the ready form. So the ready form is right here. Signed real estate agency disclosure, assign. So you can see how easy it is once you get them to sign it. Well, now, if you need them to sign something, so like you're going to go to your documents where you are, and then you're going to go to transaction, go to transaction. And this is going to take you out to your DocuSign.
But did the offer start in DocuSign or did the offer start in Command?
It starts in Command in that you have to have the opportunity, have all of the information there. And then when you go to transaction, it will take you out to DocuSign. DocuSign is just your documents manager. The Command is your database contact manager and compliance manager. The two are connected. So when you get out to DocuSign, one of the first things you want to do is you want to go to the details, because it's taking you out to that particular client's room. They have a room where all their documents stay. You first want to go to your details, and you can click the edit button up here at the top. This is where you're going to fill in information about the property, about your offer. And so now I can even update it because now it's been accepted. Oops, where'd it go? Come on, there we go. And then this is where you can put in, you're going to put in the seller's name. I'm representing the buyer, so I don't have all the information. I only need their name because this is what's going to be auto filled into the contract. So, you know, you have the seller's name, you have the seller's agent's name. So you have all of their information there. And then my buyer with all of their information, both buyers, and then it'll come down to me as the agent. And then you save everything at the end. Then what happens is you're in the documents, and this is where you get to add a document. So you can go out and you can either pull one from your computer. Say it's an HOA addendum that you pulled off of MLS. Well, you're going to need to save that to your computer in your client file and then drag it in, either, you know, dragging it in from the bottom or from a file on your computer. Or like if you're going to, you know, you just did a buyer consultation and you're going to go out to DocuSign. So then DocuSign, you have your forms library, and you're going to select which library you want. Well, you're going to have your AAR library, the Armless library, the Keller Williams library, and then the MLS library. And because I'm also a member up here in the White Mountains, I have my White Mountains MLS in here. And those are important, you know, if you're doing listings, because you need to get the listing agreement, property profiles and things like that through the MLS. The KW is strictly your ABA. That's all there. So if you click on that, this is where you're going to highlight the ABA. I pretty much, very rarely, if I'm looking for an odd document, will find it in Omnilist, but pretty much everything's in the AAR library. You can start searching it by the name. So I'm just going to throw this in there because I know eventually I'm going to have to do it, is the residential buyer, where is it? Inspection notice. Eventually I'm going to need that because we're in the inspection period right now. So I'm going to hit add, and it comes into the documents here and it's loading. Now you can see, like, so you see buyer advisory here twice. One of them is the actual signed document. The other one is the original that I filled out. So if you needed to make changes or update it, you can go back in. The residential, let me find it. Here we go, buyer's inspection. So you could open the document. And because I haven't added the contract date in yet, it didn't autofill it, but you can manually put the contract date in here if you wanted to. And then you just type that in. And so I can click on it's accepted, I can click on it's rejected, or here, if they elect to allow things. And then this is where you can actually type whatever you want. And once you put all of the stuff in that you want to ask for, then you're going to click save and close. Okay, so we'll go back to that one right here. So then I want to send it for signature. So I'm going to highlight that document, and say you want to send multiple, you just highlight which ones you want to send. This pen right here means DocuSign. It's a pen, you want to sign it. So you're going to create the envelope and you're going to come out here, and this is where you set it up for the actual signatures. You can name this, like I'm going to call this the Binzer, and then I get to go to the recipients. Well, remember when I had you set up the details, I'm going to go to my room participants, and my clients, Bruce and Terry, are going to be the signers. So I'm going to add them. And you can see where it has their name and their emails. It says here that it needs to sign. And you can type a note in if you want. And then you hit next. And it literally brings you into putting the signature lines in, and you want to make sure that they always line up. So up here at the top left, you can see where it says Bruce. And if you toggle it, then you can see Terry on there as well. So all the people who are supposed to be signing should be up there. So we're going to start with Bruce, and they need to sign this, not the waiver, but here's the inspection repair. So we want to put Bruce's signature right here. So you just click and slide it over with the date. Then I want to toggle to Terry. And then I'm going to put Terry's signatures right there. Sometimes you're going to have a box where you have to do a check mark box. And what you do is you come over to the check box, say this is the check box, and you put it there. And then over here, you're going to see checkbox values. And you just click on the box. And if you notice it, it highlighted it. And it's tied to the person that I did that under. So that would be Terry. Once all of that's done, then you click send, and it automatically gets sent out to the clients. And it's tied to your email. So whatever email you're using, you're going to see when they viewed it and when they signed it and when it's completed. And normally the document will show up in your email once it says it's been completed. So you can pull it from your email, or you have the opportunity to come back in here and find the document in your Dropbox. Now this one I am going to discard because it was just for practice. And you can go in and just practice on this with making up contracts. So here you can see these are actually completed documents in the envelopes. So here was their original offer. You can see down here where they've signed it. You can see both of everything's completed, and you can go in here and pull the document. So here's this one, and when you click on it, it'll open it up. You can see it, but then you also have the opportunity to print or download it. Save it to your computer if you're doing your own files, which you should be doing. Don't just count, this is for the broker when it stays in here. You need to keep your own files too. And that's pretty much it. And then you can go back, where is it? Up here, because you can see this is where in an envelope. This will take you back to the actual command page, and you can work within your file. So I've just been adding documents, and then when it's time, when I get finished adding these documents, I'll click submit, and it'll be submitted for compliance. And that is just a real down and dirty quick way to show you how to go in and prepare an offer in command through DocuSign. Anybody have any questions on that?
My use of DocuSign was totally different. I was like going to the DocuSign website, signing on, and just using the standard DocuSign. I didn't know you could access it like that and keep your files in it.
It's all, and that was why Gary Keller created this for us, is because we've gotten so used to having all of our stuff through so many different platforms, and you're toggling back and forth and back and forth, and nothing communicates. Well, he wanted to stop that. So when he created the command platform, it's so that everything is connected and communicates. So you can do your Facebook ads, you can do all of your contact management through command. You can keep track of your goals, you can keep track of your likely and probable incomes. Everything is all handled in one place. And so it's just a matter of getting used to something different. And as frustrated as I was at the time, we were forced to. We had no choice. You were losing .loop in 4 weeks, and everything had to be acclimated over to Command and DocuSign. And it wasn't even working then. I mean, I sent many nasty grams to my managing broker, who was blessedly and gracious enough to never respond to them because it was very frustrating. So what this market center has now is the finished product, and they're still making changes and updating things as they go along. And it's really, the issue is on the compliance side, and my heart goes out to them because it's not compatible for Arizona and they're having to find workarounds. But from an agent basis, it's really, really awesome. And I encourage all of you to get in there and learn it, because it will make it easier for you to have everything in one place.
Yeah, because I was going like to transaction desk and pulling my forms and then uploading them into DocuSign, and then I uploaded it into Command.
Yeah, no, you don't need to do that. All the form libraries are there. All the forms are fillable, unless you are bringing in a document, like a PDF document from your computer, then it's not fillable. And that's when you go out when you're out where you're grabbing signatures and things, there's a thing called a text box where you can go in and fill the text box and put in what you need to at that point, or use your Adobe, if you happen to have Adobe on your computer, to do the fill-ins, save it, and then load it, and then just set it up for signatures. There's a couple different ways of doing it. But that's the only time it's not a fillable document, is if it's coming in as a PDF off of your computer, which that happens on HOA addendums. So when you put your HOA addendum in there, you actually have to do a text box to fill in the stuff that you want to do. There's no choice around that. So other than that, any ahas from this besides that one? Show of hands, who's going to get in here and try this? Yes. Okay. You get an A for participation on that one. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's go back to the next process. So I think at this point, because we have what, 30 minutes left, if that? Oh, 15. In the last 15 minutes, with the offer process, whether it's a buyer or a listing, what do you want to know? I mean, this is Q&A time. Throw something at me if you want. If you just have a question, I want to be able to fill in the blanks for you guys.
Well, I do have more questions about networking with my other KW members, like multiple avenues.
Okay, so again, Command is awesome for this. So I'm going to go back to my screen share for Command. And if you come over here for referrals, click on the referral button here. Come on. So here you've got a dashboard for whatever you call it. So like I have a network of 235 KW agents in here that I have either done business with or we've talked about doing business with, we've connected with each other. You have a place to gauge your own referrals on what you're dealing with. And then you have, so like I have 10 active referrals that I'm working on right now. And, you know, these are ones to where they just didn't pan out, some that have expired. This one's a cool one too. So map. And this is again, working within just your KW network. But there is a map, like if you're trying to figure out, I've got a potential referral in Florida and, or let's just say Colorado. So we'll click on Colorado and you know that they are in Pueblo, and you can keep expanding that map. And so we can do this, and we want to slide this over, and you can start figuring out neighborhoods that your client may have talked about so that you can get more specific in finding an agent near them. You also, question? Or was that just a, I think it's in Missouri. Okay, so here you can go by market centers, you can go with finding agents who have the best production. So let me see if we can find them on here. Come on. No wonder I really panned out. Let's even just look at us, right? Arizona, Tucson. Okay, so what'll end up happening, and that's why I keep getting thrown by this over here. So the search results, zoom in on the map. Come on, Tucson. Okay. It's not giving me a list. Okay, well, I don't know what's going on. Okay, select agents production. Tucson, let's try a city. Well, I'm not finding it that way, so. Okay, so now we zoomed in close enough. So it's pulling up the Keller Williams agents in Tucson. And you can sort by production, agents production. So you can, this was on a random, you can go by, so say you're looking for somebody who works with listings in Tucson. So now here are agents that work as listings. And so let's pull up Angie, not me, different Angie. So you look at Angie Kuzma, they closed 347 deals in the last 12 months. And of that, 154 were listings and 193 were buyers. So if you're looking for someone who is a strong buyer's agent, that would be indicative of somebody who is a strong buyer's agent. Would you agree? You can tell by those numbers that it's a team, not, where am I at? How do I get back? Come on, get back, get back. Yeah. No, I don't want it. I want it command. There we go. I apologize. I can't see over all of the pictures here. So anyway, it pulled me out of there. I'm trying, guys. But you can see that you can actually connect through the map. Or you can even do a simple broadcast of a referral and see who picks it up. You can have a new referral, and this is the referral form, and whether it's a buyer or a seller, what the fee is, you can put their information is, who, the client information and who you're sending it to, or whether it's a general broadcast and you can send it out. This will keep all of your data in your dashboard here. Now, it usually will have on here where you can search a name too, search a map. So let's search Glendale, Arizona. So, you have somebody for Glendale, Arizona. So now it's pulled up random agents for Glendale. And if you wanted to do last name. Okay, so Aaliyah, she was actually an assistant at a market center I was at there. So you can look her up and you can communicate directly with her because it's giving you all of her contact information. It's her bio and her service areas. And if you want to connect with her, you just send her that connection request. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And also doing any kind of marketing events or going to marketing events like family reunion. I mean, I know we're having a tough time doing those things right now. Mega camp, which is usually in August or September. Those are times when you really have an opportunity to meet with agents. If you go into your intranet and you can look on the white pages, you can pull up entire market centers and just start making calls and introducing yourself and say, hey, I'd love to add you to, my referral network. You can do it directly through here too. So take advantage of that. All right, any other questions? Got 6 minutes. Stop sharing. Let's go back here. Okay.
So I have loaded maybe 1,200 names into command for, for contacts of people that I know, that kind of thing. So I want to start off by sending out like a holiday letter or card or something to the emails that I have in there. Mm-hmm. And just let them know what I'm doing. So I'm not quite sure how to do that. And I thought maybe that would be something that would be, good for new people to learn.
Yeah, and that is something I'm actually going through the process of learning too, because like I said, I came in on the compliance end. What I will tell you is if you go in, there's lots of tutorials on how to do things. Even on YouTube, there's a Keller Williams YouTube channel, I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, he did like 66 days to command. Jesse is also a really good resource on finding out how to do that. And I'm the firm believer in go in and just start pushing buttons and seeing what it comes up with. That's how you learn. You're not going to break it. And you can go in and just look for the tutorials. They have a place where you can do a search and just say tutorial on sending out a mass email. Because I know there's a way you can go in and create the marketing piece, and then you go in and click on which people you want to send it out to, and that's how it sends it out. But I also have someone doing that for me right now.
Okay, great. I'll get in there and try to figure that out today and do it.
Okay, cool. I like it. Anyone else? Okay, well, let's do one aha or something that you can take in that you learned today that you're going to take into your business this week, and then we will end the class.
I'm actually gonna play around with Command more and actually boost up my referral, since I'm dealing more out of state business than in state. So yes.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how successful you are with that.
I feel the same. I'm gonna, I didn't really realize I should have a few leads with some family members, but it's gonna be maybe in a few months or maybe even next year, but I could put them in Command in the cultivate part with the opportunities, and I didn't really realize I should go ahead and start that. And
absolutely. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, you can call them once a month and say, hey, I know you don't have plans and, for the next 6 months, I'm just calling to remind you I'm here to see if you have any questions. And by the way, do you happen to know of someone? So maybe you can get a referral from the referral, those kinds of things, but just check in with them once a month. And even with leads that I've gotten, when you can go 6, 7, 8 months, even a year, where they never answer your call, they never return your call. And what I tell them is say, look, I am dedicated to what I do, and I am going to keep reaching out to you until you tell me that you've made a decision to go someplace else or do something differently. And they actually appreciate that. They said, I really appreciate that you didn't give up on me. I just had so much going on. And then years later, they go back. But the fact that you were persistent reaching out to them to let them know, hey, I'm still here. All right, Heather, what are you going to do?
I'm going to create some practice contracts.
I love it. That's a great way to get in there and just get in there and play, and if you're in there and you've got a question, you're not quite sure where to go, give me a call. I have no problem helping, walk you through that, because like I said, I'm passionate about making sure that the agents can get into Command to create their contracts, stay in touch with their clients, and not be running around helter-skelter through all the different platforms. So good for you.
I have a question. I just kind of want to confirm, we are phasing out .loop completely, so that will mean nobody's going to be using it. Is that correct?
That was the plan. You'll have to speak to leadership. I know that they extended the contract and changed their mind, because from a compliance standpoint, the people managing brokers and stuff were having major problems with it. I had a conversation with Kristen Cole to make sure that we weren't going to be getting rid of it. So I think with her experience and the fact that she's got 3 other market centers that are successfully using it, that I think eventually .loop will get phased out, but it's not right now.
Okay, because I don't know how to use it yet, so I'm trying to find out if it's worth learning it.
Don't use it.
Don't use it. Okay.
Just get into Command and have everything in one place and learn it, because eventually you have to learn it anyway. So the fact that you're not bogged down with learning another system, just learn this one.
So that's what I was saying before. So you just want to go through Command to opportunities to DocuSign.
Yeah, contact create the opportunity, and then you have it take you out through the documents into the transaction, which will take you to DocuSign, and you can toggle back and forth and do everything that you need to do right there.
And you don't have to go to DocuSign website first?
No. Literally, if you click on, when you're in the opportunity under the Documents tab, you'll see the spot to click on that says Go to Transaction. That will automatically feed you out to your DocuSign account and put you into the room of that specific client.
So that should be easier, I would hope. Then.
Easier, way easier. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if we don't know DocuSign, or if we don't know dot loop and it's going to go away, then we should just pretend to not learn it.
I really like you, Nicole. That's a great way of looking.
I need things simple with technology. I don't need 100 different things. It's very frustrating to have all these different things.
Just have it all in one place and just make it easier on yourself. It really really is helpful.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anybody else?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, you've got that extra hour now to go practice and make calls and do sample contracts and all of that stuff and make new network connections. So I wish you well. And if you have any questions, let me know. And it's been an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Thank
Can we
you.
get your phone number?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Number is
Thank you.
928-368-3863. Again, 928-368-3863.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for all the great information.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.